Welcome, listeners, to Mr. Hudson's true but chilling and scary stories. Today, we're shaking things up as Mr. Harriet takes the reins to guide us through the spine-tingling experiences of alien abduction. Brace yourselves for an unforgettable journey into the unknown. And if Mr. Harriet's narration sends shivers down your spine, don't forget to let us know in the comments below. Remember to subscribe for more hair-raising tales that will keep you on the edge of your seat. Now, without further ado, let's dive into the mysteries that await us in the depths of the cosmos.
As I attempt to gather my thoughts and delve into the memories that have haunted me for so long, a familiar chill creeps down my spine, signaling the darkness of the tale I am about to unfold. These memories, like specters in the night, refuse to stay buried in the recesses of my mind. It started when I was just a child, innocent and carefree. I was 3 years old when they first came for me. I remember the blinding light, searing heat engulfing me as I was whisked away into the unknown. The ship, or whatever it was suffocating hot inside, every surface scalding to the touch. And those cables, writhing like living creatures, binding me to an otherworldly fate. They led me to a table, impossibly long, designed for beings far beyond my comprehension. The examinations were invasive, the pain unbearable. A tube forced down my throat, delivering nutrients that my body rejected, violently at first. But they promised it would become routine, that I would get used to it. Each time I returned home, nestled in my bed as if nothing had happened. But the marks, oh the marks, they told a different story. Scoop marks, oozing a sickly green liquid, tracing along my spine like a macabre signature. The doctors had no answers, their explanations falling short of the truth that gnawed at my soul. And then there were the lapses, those terrifying moments of lost time. Driving, cycling, living my life, only to be ripped away by forces beyond my control. Collisions, head traumas, the scars both seen and unseen marking my journey through this waking nightmare. My doctor dismissed it all as the remnants of my past, the echoes of a life lost to drug-induced hallucinations. But I knew better. The scar on my cranium, the missing piece of my skull, they were tangible reminders of a reality I couldn't escape. So here I am, haunted by memories that refuse to fade, searching for answers in a world that denies their existence. But deep down, I know the truth. I was taken, abducted by forces beyond my comprehension, and I may never truly escape their grasp. On October 21, 2021, I found myself tossing and turning in bed, unable to shake off the grip of insomnia. Each passing minute seemed to stretch into eternity as I lay there, my mind plagued by restless thoughts. Then, without warning, a sudden paralysis seized my body, trapping me in the fetal position I often slept in. Panic surged through me as I struggled against the invisible shackles, my heart pounding in my chest. This can't be happening. I cried out into the silent darkness, my voice echoing with desperation and disbelief. As I lay there, a strange mix of fear and excitement coursed through my veins. Despite the terror of being immobilized, there was a curious anticipation building within me. Was this some sort of dream? Or perhaps something far more sinister? The air around me crackled with an otherworldly energy, and I knew deep down that I was about to embark on a journey beyond the realms of comprehension. With a sudden jolt, I was propelled forward, hurtling through the walls of my own home as if they were nothing but vapor. The sensation was both exhilarating and terrifying, like being caught in the eye of a storm. And then, there they were, 5 figures looming before me, their gray forms standing out against the darkness. Each one seemed to emanate an aura of mystery and dread, their presence sending shivers down my spine. I managed to muster a feeble greeting before darkness enveloped me once more, dragging me into the depths of unconsciousness. When I awoke the next morning, a dull ache throbbed in my lower right kidney, a tangible reminder of the events that had transpired. But despite the physical discomfort, there was something else stirring within me, a sense of wonder and awe at having glimpsed the unknown. As I lay there, contemplating the events of the previous night, I couldn't help but feel a strange sense of gratitude. For in that moment of fear and uncertainty, I had been granted a glimpse into a world beyond our own, a world filled with mysteries waiting to be unraveled. And though the journey ahead was fraught with peril and uncertainty, I knew deep down that I was ready to embrace it, for better or for worse. We lived in a rural area outside the city, where recent reports of UFO sightings and unexplained power outages fueled local rumors. Our house sat near tall, high-voltage power lines, just a mile or two from the sightings. One night, I experienced what I thought was a vivid dream, only to wake up and realize it was all too real. I found myself in a strange place, surrounded by metallic tubes connected to my body. A horrifying device, resembling a metallic tube, gripped my genitals, causing me to ejaculate repeatedly. A screen in front of me projected an unsettling scene, the woman from my dream straddling me, her face contorted in a grotesque expression. Terror seized me as I realized the gravity of the situation. I felt trapped, powerless against the unseen forces that held me captive. Suddenly, a sinister presence loomed over me, its reptilian visage filling me with dread. I fought to resist its influence, but darkness enveloped me, consuming my consciousness. The next morning, I awoke to find my body marked by strange wounds, a painful reminder of the ordeal I had endured. The scars would linger for decades, serving as a constant reminder of the horrors I had faced. In the years since, I've tried to make sense of what happened to me, but the memories haunt me still. I've shared my story with few, fearing disbelief or ridicule. My encounters with these otherworldly beings have left me scarred, both physically and emotionally. Despite my efforts to move on, the specter of that night continues to haunt me. I've learned to accept the reality of my experiences, but the fear remains. I know now that I am not alone, that others have suffered as I have. And yet, the truth of what lies beyond our understanding continues to elude me, a terrifying reminder of the unknown horrors that lurk in the shadows. The first experience I had was over 35 years ago. I was 7 years old. It was a school night, so my two sisters, my brother and I had a 9 o'clock bedtime. Every night before my mom goes to bed, she will come check up on us to see if we are asleep. I guess a couple hours had passed, and around 11 that night, my mom came in and she said she couldn't find me anywhere. Mom went to check outside and couldn't find me still. Once she realized the deadbolt was still locked as she went out, she decided to check the window locks, and they were all shut and locked. She started to panic at this point, so she went down to my grandma's, who lived down below us at the time, and ran into her brother. As she got closer to him, she seen he was kindly in shock, and she asked what was wrong after asking if he had seen me. My uncle finally was able to speak, and he said he didn't see me, but there was a bright flash over your house earlier that night. He was walking around to see what caused the flash. He never found anything that would have caused a bright flash. My mom didn't know what it was, so she kept looking, went back in the house to see if I was hiding, but that ain't the case. As she searched the neighborhood frantically, she got scared and called the police, but they told her they could look, but I would have to be gone at least 24 hours for it to be considered a missing persons case in order to start a search for me. 4 hours had passed by then, and she was in the house, upset and worried. As she sat there, she heard a knock at the front door, and it was me. She said I is soaking wet with a water and oily mixture stuff, like I had jumped into a pool. At that time she said it wasn't raining, also there were no pools near or anywhere I could have gotten wet like I was. Another thing she realized was that the deadbolt and windows were locked, and was trying to figure out how I managed to lock it with no key. Since you can't go outside and lock the door behind you without a key, she started wondering how that happened. By that time she went into asking me where I was and why I was dripping wet with a watery, oily type substance. She said she couldn't make much sense of my answers, so she had me draw out what happened or where I was. I began to draw and colored a picture that looked like people, but they were all bald and hanging in a big room with a glass dome. I told her the floors were bright white, and looking through the dome I could see stars and planets and 2 suns. I also drew a large alien, in which I didn't know what it was at the time. It wore a cape made out of almost aluminum type material. It spoke to me, but not with its voice, it was through my mind. It told me they would be here in 46 human years and would save humanity and end our war against each other. It also told me the people were hybrids and they were being sent to our planet to study and blend. They want to change our bad ways and to better us as far as getting along with each other and to stop wars. They said a certain breed of alien from planets near them wanted to destroy our planet and kill us. It basically said that's where they would come in to help us. That's why they want us to be better with each other. BC, we will need to help each other when all this goes down, but in other words, of course. It said there are aliens like him walking with us every day and we have no idea they do. Anyways, the bright flash my uncle se the dome was just one of many domes and then was my departure to their planet. The hybrids I seen, some looked female and some were male, they were all bald, they didn't have private parts. It never tried to hurt me in any way. I can't be the only person this has happened to. I drew a similar picture to the one when I was 7, but this one is a little better in detail. As a child I didn't know what they were or what they were called, so I called a lost angel. I know they aren't going to hurt us, it could be another breed of aliens but not the ones I made contact with. But anyways, this is the time I made first contact. I remember fragments from two distinct moments in my life, one when I was merely 5 years old and another when I had reached the ripe age of 65. These recollections, though unbidden by any hypnotic regression, strike a chord with the tales recounted by those who claim to have undergone such experiences. It's the intricate details within these memories that resonate with the narratives of abductees, weaving a tapestry of unsettling truths. The stories they tell are deeply disquieting. They speak of a relentless pursuit by the Greys, those enigmatic beings from beyond our world, who have been prolifically creating hybrids of alien and human origin for years. The latest iterations of these hybrids bear an uncanny resemblance to us, seamlessly integrating into our society, concealing their true nature behind a veneer of humanity. The Greys possess formidable mental prowess, employing telepathy to communicate and exert control over their human subjects. With chilling ease, they infiltrate our minds, delving into our thoughts and memories, manipulating our perceptions, and inducing emotions at will. They erase our recollections of encounters, leaving us with a disconcerting aversion to revisiting those buried memories. Their technology defies comprehension, enabling feats that defy the laws of physics as we understand them. Levitating objects and individuals, traversing solid walls, and cloaking their vessels with an eerie silence that belies their incredible speed, all are within their grasp. They implant monitoring devices within us, gathering data with a clinical precision that is as invasive as it is insidious. And when they choose to take us, they do so with a cold efficiency, leaving no trace of their presence save for the scars they leave behind. For many abductees, this torment is not a singular event but a recurring nightmare, haunting them throughout their lives. They struggle to break free from the cycle, to resist the inexorable pull of the Greys' relentless pursuit, yet find themselves ensnared in a web of captivity from which there seems to be no escape. The purpose behind these abductions becomes chillingly clear: the creation of hybrids imbued with the Greys' formidable abilities, poised to assume control of our world. They speak of the change, a pivotal moment in their machinations, when the balance of power will shift inexorably in their favor. In the eyes of the Greys, we are but feeble creatures, squandering our potential in pursuits they deem frivolous. They regard our stewardship of the earth with disdain, lamenting our lack of spiritual enlightenment and reverence for the universal consciousness they hold dear. To them, our transformation from chaotic beings to orderly conduits of their will is not just desirable but necessary, for the greater good of the universe itself. Some may argue that those in positions of power are aware of this existential threat, silenced by forces beyond our understanding. But what good would it do to divulge such inconceivable truths? And yet, here I am, sharing these revelations with you. The question remains, what will you do with this knowledge? Are we already lost, resigned to our fate before we even begin to comprehend the enormity of the truth that lies before us? Back in the 80s, I was on a long barefoot hike in the Cumberland Mountains with my friend Scott. He rode me there on the back of his Ducati, then we scaled a canyon, climbed a mountain, and watched sunset. On the night hike back down at the top of Rainbow Falls, we saw across the creek, Middle Creek, a glowworm glowing by a cliff. We crossed the creek straight to it and checked it out. A few seconds later, Scott saw the UFO, and then I saw it as well. He freaked and I tried to calm him down, but when the UFO moved towards us we both screamed with a chimpanzee's sound. We were so freaked. It got to about 30 feet away and was glowing white like a tube light. It was about 10 feet wide, shaped like Saturn. We were stuck in place screaming wildly. Then a front porch swing appeared on a flat rock in a down-angled spotlight across Middle Creek. It was like morphine. We completely calmed down and were saying, "Oh, it's just a front porch swing. It's just a swing." I went from the most freaked out I'd ever been to completely calm in 1 second. I remember stepping into the creek and helping Scott down so we could sit on the swing. My memory splits at that point. The next thing I know, we are making the dangerous night climb down the cliffs around the falls, knowing nothing of any UFO. About 6 months later I started having flashbacks to what happened, but of course told no one. 2 years later I told my friend Sheldon. He said he knew someone with the same story. He introduced me to Joe. Joe said he was on Middle Creek at night with a friend and they saw a glowworm off the trail and they went to it, then saw a strobe burst, and when they got back to their car it was hours later than it should have been. He said later he started having flashbacks, but his memories took him onto the craft and included sperm extraction.